First things first, the Gandalf thing, not going to apologise for it. It made me laugh when I saw it. So I'm going to share it with you, and it's undoubtedly going to bug you for the next however long this goes on for. Also, there is a new video on the Moisky Live channel concerning the Supreme Court's ruling unanimously against UK government and revoking or voiding the prorogation of Parliament, something which I noticed while watching Parliament today when the Attorney General was talking about it. Many politicians can't actually pronounce prorogation. It isn't the hardest thing to say. Link to the video down below. Also, I will be streaming at about 7 PM GMT on Twitch some Euro Truck Simulator. If you are at all interested in hanging out and having a little chat, please feel free to swing by. Link as well to that down below. Now, the story I want to cover is so stupid and so pathetic, it has to come from Florida, which isn't even a joke. It actually comes from Florida, Orlando no less, where an elementary school officer took the liberty of using their rather prestigious position within their school and community to arrest two 6-year-olds. The context for this, which I find to be the most baffling, is that they had temper tantrums, something which I believe the grandmother attributed in one of these instances to sleep apnea. I'm not entirely sure unless they're referencing a lack of oxygen getting to the brain, therefore affecting development and therefore affecting their ability to be a little less volatile. Then again, I remember being a 6-year-old and I was hardly the calmest child on the planet. So let's just take that with a pinch of salt, because I'm sure the science isn't quite out on that yet. So the elementary school resource officer arresting two 6-year-olds, going so far as to mugshot and fingerprint both of the children in question who have been named. I'm not going to reference their names though. While it is all public and certainly linked in the CNN article down below, I'm not going to do it. The Orlando Police Chief, Orlando Rowland, did give a number of statements at an afternoon press conference where he indicated that the department had been trying to give the elementary school resource officer the benefit of reviewing paperwork and statements, saying that it was clear today when I came into work that there was no other remedy than to terminate this officer. And as Chief of Police, it is his job to earn and protect the trust between the community and its officers, with him concluding by apologising on behalf of the Orlando Police Department and to the children and their families. It should be noted that while it was claimed that the child had been fingerprinted and mugshotted, the police have said the child was not processed. Fantastic. I'm so happy the child was, while arrested, not subjected to the rest of that procedure. Not that a child having a temper tantrum should be arrested in the first place. It should be noted one of the children, while charged with the temper tantrum aspect, it was for charged with battery, after they had, during a temper tantrum bout, kicked another child. I know kids can be pretty ruthless and brutal, but seriously, arresting children now? I'm not sticking a kid in a juvie cube, okay? State Attorney Aramis Ayala said that her office would not prosecute the misdemeanor battery charges against either child, with her being quoted as saying, "I refuse to knowingly play any role in the school-to-prison pipeline at any age. These very young children ought to be protected, nurtured and disciplined in a manner that does not rely on the criminal justice system to do it." No doubt because, and yes, race might factor into this, someone might think that because a child from an ethnic minority background getting arrested at a young age is setting an almost cliche joking internet trolling standard. You know what I mean? In the sense that a child who's black being arrested as a kid will undoubtedly go on to be arrested even more, which isn't the case, of course. This should be tackled with, and examples should be made. Lessons should be learned. For those who don't understand, the reason why the Orlando Police Department oversee the school resource officer, it's because they do. Tautology. Love it. Therefore, it is under their jurisdiction to remove that person from the post. As part of the arresting procedure, though, any arrest of a person under the age of 12 requires the approval of a watch commander, and in the case of one of the children involved, this was not the case. And in a statement provided to CNN, the police department said that the second transport officer verified approval but was not obtained, and the process for the 6-year-old was stopped immediately, with the child being returned to the school prior to being processed at the Juvenile Assessment Centre. I mentioned 2 children. The statement also provided to CNN indicates a second child, with the quote continuing, "The first transport officer was not aware and approval was not obtained, and the other child was processed through the Juvenile Assessment Centre. The child was released to a family member short time after." The Orlando Police Chief Rowland did briefly speak about the arresting officer's history with children on Monday, indicating that the officer had a personal incident involving his own child years ago. But as he didn't go into details on this, I have no idea what he's referring to, whether it be because his child was harmed, which now I'm saying it sounds more likely, and nothing came of it. Therefore, he has developed a more no-nonsense approach towards it, so much so that he would ignore protocol for a cheap win that amounted to nothing. There are procedures for a reason. There are protocols that exist as a means to make sure that every possible avenue has been explored and that the procedure is followed to the nail. There is a reason for this. It is not so that we fall into anarchy, but to make sure those who have been arrested fairly. The whole due process thing comes up. But also following those procedures means that when it goes to a courtroom, which with a 6-year-old is absolute bollocks on the face of it, but it does mean that then you have a leg to stand on, culpability and all that. I don't agree with the process of arresting children. I earlier mentioned juvie cubes. Yeah. Perhaps for teenagers that have crossed a line or two, not for adolescent, borderline infants. We don't do that. And you, whoever you are, nameless resource officer, you and I need to have a little conversation, but your side of it will be heard from the inside of an ISO cube. I may do this thing in the future, by the way. I'm going to start showing you ISO cubes. And when I stick someone in there, I'm going to put a picture of them in the ISO cube. I might build up a little wall of ISO cubes over time. If you would like for me to do that, for any and all future people who are worthy of a little bit of time in an ISO cube, please let me know in the comments below. I do appreciate it. I do think if a kid lashes out violently, they shouldn't be arrested. We had this a few weeks back with the dodgeball thing. Yes, they weren't playing dodgeball. He threw a ball at a kid's head. You don't arrest a kid for that. You really don't. And the fact it went to a courtroom is a joke. This will undoubtedly, because they're 6, traumatize those children, because they're going to see a part of a system they should never have been exposed to. Don't waste resources on things like that. Teach them, and teach them properly, to understand how to treat other people, and why violence is not acceptable. We don't at a young age teach them, I'm going to arrest you now, because you did something as stupid as kick someone. If we're going to do that, my niece earlier scratched me on the face. Am I supposed to have my 1-year-old niece arrested? No, I get her nails clipped. It's not difficult. Anyway, if I don't see you tonight over on Twitch, I hope you all have a lovely Wednesday, and thank you all very much for listening.